What if the smallest details, the things most people ignore, are actually the key to understanding the world and what the dogs saw, and other adventures? Malcolm Gladwell compiles 19 provocative essays from The New Yorker. Each one examines how hidden patterns, overlooked personalities, and subtle social forces shape our behavior. This isn't a single linear story like Blink. It's a masterclass in perspective. Today, we're doing a comprehensive deep dive into the book's 3 major sections: its most important essays, its psychological frameworks, and its underlying thesis. The book is divided into 3 parts: obsessives, pioneers, and other varieties of minor genius, theories, predictions, and diagnoses, personality, character, and intelligence. Each section examines how extraordinary outcomes often emerge from invisible mechanisms. The Ketchup Conundrum, Howard Moskowitz. One of the most important essays explores food scientist Howard Moskowitz. For years, companies tried to create the perfect spaghetti sauce. They assumed there was one ideal flavor. Moskowitz discovered something radical. There is no perfect sauce. There are perfect sauces. Consumers don't want uniformity. They want diversity tailored to preference clusters. This insight transformed the food industry. Key concept: consumer behavior is not about averages. It's about segmented identities. Gladwell uses this to challenge the myth of universal taste. The birth control pill and feminism. Gladwell examines how the development of the birth control pill reshaped gender dynamics. But instead of focusing on ideology, he focuses on chemistry, how altering hormone levels reshape personality traits like risk tolerance and ambition. The deeper question becomes, how much of who we are is biological modulation? What the Dog Saw, Cesar Millan. The title essay focuses on dog trainer Cesar Millan. Gladwell asks, what does the dog see when it looks at a human? Millan's genius was not dominance but energy calibration. Dogs respond to posture, calmness, assertiveness. Dogs then slice human behavior instantly. The broader metaphor: we too are constantly reading subtle cues in others. Part 2: Theories, Predictions, and Diagnoses. This section shifts from personalities to systems. The art of failure. Enron. Gladwell analyzes the Enron scandal. The question isn't just why did executives lie, it's deeper. Why do intelligent systems collapse under their own complexity? He introduces the idea that some environments reward risk-taking to the point of structural instability. Failure is often systemic, not personal. The prediction problem. Gladwell examines how we evaluate future risk. He critiques the assumption that past performance reliably predicts future behavior, especially in criminal profiling. Data without context becomes misleading. The lesson: prediction is harder than we think. The housing crisis and moral hazard. Gladwell explores how financial institutions misjudged risk before economic collapse. Again, we see a theme: people misread incentives. They misunderstand feedback loops. Systems distort perception. Part 3: Personality, Character, and Intelligence. This is arguably the most psychologically rich section. The talent myth. Gladwell challenges corporate America's obsession with natural talent. He critiques the belief that brilliance alone predicts success. Organizations that prioritize star individuals over stable systems often fail. This anticipates themes later expanded in Outliers, late bloomers versus prodigies. Some individuals peak early, others flourish late. Gladwell contrasts artists and innovators who succeed immediately with those who require decades of refinement. The key insight: innovation has multiple pathways. Not all genius is explosive. Some genius is iterative. Intelligence reformulated. Gladwell questions traditional IQ-based models. He suggests intelligence is multidimensional: social acuity, emotional regulation, contextual adaptability. Narrative persuasion. Success often depends more on situational intelligence than abstract reasoning. The underlying themes. Although the essays appear disconnected, they share core philosophical threads. 1. Small inputs, large outcomes. Minor variables produce massive effects. 2. Perspective determines understanding. What you see depends on what you're trained to notice. 3. Systems shape behavior. Individual failure often reflects structural design. 4. Expertise is pattern recognition. Like in Blink, expertise emerges from accumulated exposure. The style and method, and like traditional academic books, What the Dog Saw operates through storytelling journalism. Gladwell profiles unconventional thinkers, breaks down scientific research, connects psychology with economics and sociology, simplifies complex systems without losing narrative momentum. However, critics argue he sometimes compresses nuance. Anecdotes occasionally overrepresent conclusions. Still, this essays are intellectually provocative and accessible. What this book is really about. At its core, What the Dog Saw is about perception. It asks, what are we missing? What patterns hide in plain sight? Why do experts see what others overlook? How do small variables reshape massive institutions? The title becomes symbolic. To see clearly, you must shift vantage point. Final reflection. If Blink explored snap judgments, What the Dog Saw explores the architecture behind those judgments. It reveals that markets are misunderstood, talent is mismeasured, risk is miscalculated, intelligence is oversimplified, behavior is contextual. It is a book about reseeing the world. Call to action. If you enjoy deep, structured breakdowns like this, where we unpack every theme, every concept, every systemic insight, make sure to subscribe, like this video, follow the channel. Share your perspective in the comments, and most importantly, comment the next book you want us to review. Should we dive into behavioral psychology, legal thrillers, economic systems, leadership strategy, spiritual philosophy? Drop your recommendation below. We read, we analyze, we break it down so you don't miss the hidden patterns. Until the next deep dive, keep questioning what you think you see, because sometimes the real story is what the dog saw.